So really all you have to do to remove this radio is remove the air conditioning controls. Now there is two 10mm bolts up underneath here that hold this in place.
Well, we can put one on top of the
The amps are in. We added this extra bracket here like we talked about, so that is screwed into the factory bolt there. Power wire snaked around, ran up. It is just waiting to go through the firewall. We use that factory ground point right here to ground the amplifiers. Gone ahead and taped this up like we talked about. Plug them in. No wires are cut. Everything is just... We're getting ready to drop the seat back down. So this is all set and ready to go. Oh yeah, we also ran the RCAs up into the dash, so they're done. We just ran the sub wire to the back. It's right there. We're gonna go ahead and split that off to two 16 gauges next. But first we're gonna go ahead and put the seat back down and just kind of hand tighten the bolts into place. All right, now we're to the point to where we're going to go ahead and get the radio wired up so that we can get it into the dash and finish this install. We got a bunch of parts though we need to talk about first. First off, let's talk about the antenna adapter. For this, we're gonna use the best kits BAA 44. Now, this antenna adapter here comes with the regular antenna that's going to plug into the back of the radio. This is the special Toyota version, and it's got this blue wire right here. This is the amplified antenna turn-on. Anytime you use one of these that has that, go ahead and plug this into the car and see if there's a wire there. Now, in this case, there is no wire for an amplified antenna, so we can just go ahead and remove this from the harness so we don't have to deal with it. We'll set this aside. Next, we have the USB. We want to retain the factory USB. For that, we're going to be using the Pack Audio USB TY1. If you're using all iData, they make an adapter for this too. We just stock this one. Toyota makes two different versions of this cable. One has a brown end, one has a gray end. This one uses the gray end in the car and they match. And it's also, this one is more square. So we're gonna use this guy. Next, we have the TO2. This is a box of different style antenna adapters for the car. What this is designed to retain is your Sirius XM as well as the GPS antenna. Depending on which manufacturer you have, this one here will do the Sirius XM. It's universal, it just plugs into the Sirius XM tuner. And then you have these two guys here. The green one is for Pioneer, the gray one is for Kenwood. Plug this in, plug it into the back of the radio, and you can use the car's GPS antenna. You don't have to run the Kenwood. Next, we have the TO2. This is going to be the smart harness for the car. The first thing that pops out of this is the backup camera retention. This guy right here. This guy is designed to plug into the RR. This is going to plug into the back of the radio. Next, we have an OBD2 connector that's going to need to run down and plug in. And then we have the main harness here. And there's a bunch of adapters for this. Now naturally what you want to do, like always, is go plug this into the car and make sure that it is the right harness. We're going to go ahead and do that real quick. So we do have the right harness. All our stuff plugs in. That's a positive. Now on this, we have a bunch of stuff going on here that we just need to kind of figure out what it is. And for that, we're going to use the magical instructions. But before we get to that, let's go ahead and open the actual RR box. go ahead and take the main unit out. Now we'll grab these instructions and we're going to go ahead and turn to page 4. And what we want to look for is what wires are right here. These are the wires that are in these bags. And this guy is this, which is H, which is the main data connector. It's in the bag that comes with the power and the USB. This other stuff we're not going to need for this install. What you want to do though is go ahead and take this, plug it into the H hole so you don't lose it. This is the cable that you're going to lose and you're going to hate yourself for it. The rest of this stuff we're not going to need. We'll just go ahead and put it in the box here. According to this, we have the backup camera, which is right here. So we have our aux input here. We're going to need a RCA to aux adapter to retain those. And then up here we have these guys, these RCAs. So if it had the JBL system, we'd leave these intact and just plug it in. We don't have that system, so we're going to cut them off. So now what we want to do is just go ahead and, like always, remove all this tape so that we can make this harness our own. Now this doesn't have rear seat entertainment or anything like that, so we can go ahead and remove the video aux RCA. We're not going to need it. Alright, so now what we want to do is just pretty this up, solder the wires together. On the Kenwood, there is a couple wires that we're not going to use. This has these 2 green wires here that say cam plus and minus. We're not using those because they're for a dedicated Kenwood camera that we're not using because we have the factory. This doesn't have a power antenna, so we don't need to use the blue wire that's on here. Purple white we will be using. That's going to be our backup wire. And then the speaker wires we're not going to be using either because this we're putting in an amplifier. So there's no reason for us to hook those up. This has the steering wheel wire, which is the blue yellow. We're not going to need that because that is going to be done through the data connection here. We can cap that off. Looking back at what we just talked about, we're not going to need any of the 8 speaker wires. That's these guys right here. We're not going to need the steering wheel control wire. We're not going to need those greens, and we're not going to need the blue wire. It might be easier to say what we are going to be using, which is the black ground, the red accessory, the yellow memory, the orange white illumination, the blue white amp turn on, and the purple white reverse trigger. That's it. That's all we're going to be hooking up on this guy. As far as this is concerned, it has all those wires like the speaker wires. We're not going to be using those. We're not going to be using these over here. We can just remove them if we want. That's entirely up to you. You can tape them up, cap them off, but what we're going to do now, shoot to a quick time lapse of us wiring this bad boy up. Our harness is all set and ready to go. We have the car side here, brain side here. We have our remote turn on right here. And then all the stuff that's gonna plug into the back of the radio. It's in a nice T. We have all this stuff all set and ready to go here. So now I'm gonna go into the car. I'm gonna get all this plugged in. Last thing that I'm going to do is plug in this guy. So what I'm gonna do right now before I take this into the car is go ahead and unplug this brain, because this actually all gets plugged in last. So you have to plug in the radio, you have to plug in all its connections, and then you plug this guy in. But we can get all this into the car, so let's head into the car. Now we can proceed to step 3, which is to plug in the RR. So essentially, this needs to be last. And I like to hook up the main power last as well. So we'll plug in everything. All right. So this thing is going to flash red a bunch of times, and then finally it will go ahead and flash green. And then that should be done. We're gonna go ahead and do our setup here. All right, so it has factory guidelines, so we're gonna go ahead and make sure we turn the parking guidelines off, turn the demo off. As far as OEM, you have vehicle features, vehicle settings. We can always come back if there's nothing that we need to deal with right now. We can change those later. We can select finish, we'll select agree. Pressure, there we go, so there's our tire pressure. Looks like he's got one low tire over here. Wow. I'm gonna put some air in his tire.
So now we have 38, 38, 39, 40.
Okay. Fixed this tire pressure problem. Let's go to navigation. It's amazing how this can grab navigation inside of here.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. All right, so really at this point, if Fernando's still hooking the battery up, I just wanted to make sure that the basic features here worked. Volume up works, volume down works. At this point, we're just gonna go ahead and set this up in the dash, and we'll move on to actually testing everything else. All right, so we're just gonna plug this in. We're not gonna actually snap this in place yet. We wanna wait until we're done doing all our testing. That way we don't have to pull this back off. You come out of the firewall over here, zip tie the wire up to the firewall, comes across. We have a nice mount right here for the fuse holder. It's like a display just for the fuse holder. Connected to the battery, all good. So we have all the speakers moving in the right direction. We did have one that was wrong. It's okay. It could be anywhere. Could have been down here at the amplifier. Could have been over where it was over in the door. No big deal. That's why we do the polarity check. So we're good there. Now they're all moving the right direction. Now we're going to go ahead with the setup for this. Like we said, these have like a DD1 built into them. So we have the disc. We have it in the player. We're gonna go ahead and start tuning it now. Now when you're going to set these up, make sure you unplug the speakers. You don't need the speakers hooked up to do this. You also need to make sure that if you have the bass knob hooked up, you go ahead and disconnect that. Set your radio to flat, and now we'll go ahead and play track 5. We're not getting any clip on the input for the 40 hertz. We didn't think we would. Now we'll go ahead and go to track 7, and we're not getting any input clip either. We've dynoed the Kenwoods. They don't clip. We're all good there. Now we're gonna go ahead and for the subwoofer, we're gonna try -10, so we're gonna put it on track 13. Lights up blue. All right, we got red there. Now we're going to turn up the bass EQ. So we'll go ahead and turn this down. There we go. Because I want some bump to come out of this. All right, now we're gonna go and play track 11. Go ahead and turn up the front. Oh, that's clipping. Our blue's good. We're not gonna be using the EQ on this. We're gonna go ahead and set our crossovers and turn on our high pass filters. All right, we got it set for 80. We're gonna set the rear for, all right. So now we have the amp set up for clip. We can go ahead and listen to it, see how it sounds, and do any final adjustments to the crossover and the gains.
Nice mid bass. Let's go 56.
Even you're gonna notice the difference. Roadkill, fast rings, T2s, sweet, very sweet.
Yeah, these tweeters, they are amazing.
I like the way it sounds. I'm happy.
Yeah, me too.
Speakers are doing what we want, so kudos to that. It's late, it's dark. I want to go home. You want to go home?
I want to go home.
So this is a one-off today. We spent the whole day working on this.
Yep.
What can I say?
Done.
Done, and on to the next one.